The night watchman had seen strange things before. Drunken wanderers, flickering lights, the quiet decay of forgotten graves. But nothing like this. On a cold evening in Edinburgh, as the wind howled through the iron gates of Greyfriars Kirkyard, he heard something that made him freeze in place. A low, guttural growl, followed by a violent crash from inside the cemetery. When he rushed toward the sound, his flashlight beam trembled across broken stones and twisted shadows. And then he saw it. A figure. Or something pretending to be one. Standing near a locked mausoleum. The air turned icy. His chest tightened. And before he could even react, an unseen force slammed him to the ground. What he encountered that night would become one of the most terrifying paranormal cases in modern history. This is the story of the Mackenzie Poltergeist. Greyfriars Kirkyard is not just any graveyard. It's one of the oldest burial grounds in Scotland, dating back to the 16th century. Over centuries, it has witnessed plague, poverty, and political unrest. But one name stands out among the thousands buried there. Sir George Mackenzie. Known as the Bloody Mackenzie, he was a ruthless judge in the 1600s who persecuted religious dissenters with brutal efficiency. Hundreds suffered under his rule, many imprisoned and executed in what became known as the Covenanters' Prison, located right next to his own final resting place. For years, Mackenzie's tomb remained undisturbed. A grand, domed mausoleum, sealed and silent. Until one day in 1998, when a homeless man seeking shelter broke into the tomb. What happened next is where the story takes a dark and disturbing turn. According to reports, the man didn't just find a quiet place to sleep. He claimed the coffin inside had collapsed, revealing a deep, hidden chamber beneath. And from that moment on, something was awakened. Soon after, visitors to Greyfriars Kirkyard began reporting strange phenomena. Sudden drops in temperature. Invisible hands pushing them. Scratches appearing on their skin. Some even claimed they were choked or knocked unconscious by an unseen force. At first, these accounts were dismissed as overactive imaginations or the eerie atmosphere playing tricks on the mind. But the sheer number of similar experiences quickly raised eyebrows. Then came the tour groups. Ghost tours had already been popular in Edinburgh, but Greyfriars became the center of attention. Tour guides began leading visitors into the area near Mackenzie's tomb, now referred to as the Black Mausoleum. And that's when things escalated. Over the years, more than 500 documented incidents have been linked to the Mackenzie Poltergeist. People leaving tours with bruises, cuts, and burns. Witnesses describing a dark presence that followed them long after they left the cemetery. Some even reported waking up at home with unexplained injuries, as if whatever haunted the kirkyard refused to stay confined. One of the most chilling accounts came from a woman who joined a nighttime tour out of curiosity. She described feeling an overwhelming sense of dread as soon as she stepped near the mausoleum. Her heart raced. Her breath became shallow. And then, without warning, she collapsed. When she regained consciousness, she was covered in scratches that hadn't been there before. Medical examinations couldn't explain the marks. There were no sharp objects nearby, no evidence of self-infliction. Just deep, red lines across her skin. If you're finding this story as disturbing as it sounds, make sure to subscribe to Shadow Files and hit that like button. Because stories like this only get darker from here. Skeptics have tried to debunk the Mackenzie Poltergeist, suggesting mass hysteria or clever tricks by tour operators. But there's a problem with that theory. Many of the incidents happened outside of tours, to individuals who had no connection to the guided experiences. Some victims didn't even know about the legend before their encounter. Security guards, like the one from our opening, have also reported terrifying experiences. Objects moving on their own. Doors slamming shut. And that same oppressive feeling, as if something unseen was watching. Waiting. In one particularly unsettling case, a man claimed he was violently thrown against a wall near the mausoleum. He suffered injuries that required medical attention, including a dislocated shoulder. There were no witnesses, no explanation. Just his word. And the damage left behind. So what exactly is happening at Greyfriars Kirkyard? Is it truly the restless spirit of Sir George Mackenzie, seeking revenge even in death? Or is something far more sinister at play? Some paranormal investigators believe the disturbance of the tomb in 1998 may have unleashed more than just a ghost. They suggest the possibility of a poltergeist, an entity fueled by chaotic energy rather than a single human spirit. Poltergeists are often associated with violent activity, which would explain the physical attacks reported by so many witnesses. Others think the location itself may be the key. Greyfriars Kirkyard has centuries of dark history. Death, suffering, and emotional trauma embedded into the very lardu. Could it be that this energy has manifested into something tangible? Something that feeds on fear and grows stronger with each new visitor? Then there's another theory, one that's perhaps even more unsettling. What if the Mackenzie Poltergeist isn't one entity at all? What if it's a collection of restless spirits, all tied to the full moon and brutality that took place there? A kind of supernatural storm, where multiple energies collide and create the violent phenomena people are experiencing. Of course, not everyone believes in the paranormal. Critics argue that the injuries could be self-inflicted, whether consciously or subconsciously. The power of suggestion is strong, especially in an environment as eerie as an ancient graveyard at night. When people expect something to happen, their minds can play tricks on them. But that still doesn't explain everything. The consistency of the reports. The physical evidence. The sheer number of witnesses from different backgrounds, all describing similar encounters. At some point, you have to ask, can all of them really be wrong? Today, the Black Mausoleum remains one of the most feared locations in Edinburgh. Access is restricted, and visitors are warned to stay cautious. Yet the legend continues to grow. New stories emerge every year, each one adding another layer to the mystery. Some say the spirit of Mackenzie is still guarding his tomb, angry at the disturbance of his final resting place. Others believe whatever was unleashed that day is something far older. Something that was never meant to be awakened. And maybe that's the most terrifying part of this story. Not knowing what you're dealing with. Because if it is just a ghost, then there might be a way to understand it. But if it's something else, something beyond our comprehension, then what chance do we really have? So the next time you find yourself walking past an old cemetery, remember this story. Because sometimes, the dead don't stay buried. Sometimes, they fight back. If you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the world's most chilling hauntings, don't forget to subscribe to Shadow Files and turn on notifications so you never miss a story. And tell me in the comments, do you believe in the Mackenzie Poltergeist, or is there a rational explanation behind it all? Because whatever the truth may be, one thing is certain. At Greyfriars Kirkyard, something is watching. And it's not at rest.